In today's video, we're going to be talking about China's reciprocal tariffs straight from a Chinese newspaper. And we're going to cut right through all the politics to see what they're really going to do. And I have not seen this on the news. I have not seen this anywhere because they don't report what other newspapers are reporting. The media is a bit censored, in my opinion. And I'm going to give you a more unfiltered look that you really have to go into researching yourself to find out. So let's get right into it. This is a China Daily, HK.com, which is a prominent Chinese newspaper. There's other ones like China Daily. This one had a lot of really good information on it. China fired off a sweeping package of robust countermeasures on Friday, including 34% tariff hike and rare earth export control, in response to the latest round of sweeping tariffs adopted by the administration of the United States President Donald Trump. Good old Donald. More forceful and precise counterstrikes are still in Beijing's pocket if Washington persists with its unilateral trade bullying, several rounds confirmed to China Daily. So this is China talking to Chinese people. As approved by the State Council, the country's cabinet, China will impose an additional 34% tariff on U.S. origin imports starting on April 10th. Simultaneously, the Ministry of Commerce and the General Administration of Customs, so they're the ones that are really doing this in a direct way, like the Ministry of Commerce and the General Administration of Customs. They impose the tariffs and enforce the tariffs. Announced immediate export restrictions on 7 key medium to heavy rare earth elements, as China Daily's first reported on Thursday. These elements, samarium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, lutetium, scandium, and yttrium, are crucial elements for manufacturing key products used in semiconductor, defense, aerospace, and green energy. Boom! That's devastating blow. When we get later into this article, that how much percentage of the world of those elements is made in China, that they control something like 80% of the supply of some of those elements. It's crazy that they're restricting that. They really have a lot of leverage in that direction. China, citing their dual nature in both military and civilian industries, a spokesman for the Commerce Ministry said, imposing export controls on them is a common international practice. As a responsible major country, China's decision to regulate these items reflects its consistent position of firmly safeguarding world peace and regional stability. Yeah, right. Other measures include filing a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization over U.S. reciprocal tariffs. Does anyone care about the World Trade Organization? I mean, people in America don't. Launching an industrial competitive investigation and anti-dumping investigation regarding imported medical CT tubes from the U.S. and India, adding 16 U.S. entities to the export control list and 11 U.S. companies to the unreliable entity list, and canceling import qualifications for certain U.S. companies. So they're really targeting companies that manufacture in China, which is like every major company really manufactures, and they're being targeted for export control, import qualifications. I mean, if the point of all this is to bring manufacturing back to America, them being under such speculation would definitely push companies to do that. This isn't just tit for tat. These countermeasures include both tariff and non-tariff measures aimed to direct hit the weak spots of the U.S. to make it feel real pain, said to. Ooh. So you gotta understand the politics behind this. They cannot look like they're being bullied, right? Xi cannot look like he's being bullied. The commerce, Chamber of Commerce in China can't look like they're doing nothing. Even if they would prefer to immediately negotiate and resolve, they can't do it just that fast politically. For political reasons, they can't be seen to be weak. And neither can President Trump. If he wanted to make a deal, he's playing hardball, right? These countermeasures are not only to protect China's own interests, but also to safeguard the stable operation of global trading systems. The State Administration for Market Regulation, China's top market regulator, so that's somebody to pay attention to, the State Administration of Market Regulation, also announced on Friday that it has launched an investigation into DuPont China. Because when I was in Houston, DuPont had like a factory there, and they do all kinds of stuff in the oil business. A subsidiary of U.S. company DuPont for suspected monopolistic practices in violation of China's anti-monopoly law. So they're throwing anti-monopoly laws, meaning that they're going to break that company up in China. So that's huge for DuPont. That's huge for DuPont, and they're going to pressure the U.S., right, stateside, and that's probably the point of that. All of the moves came after China, a major trading partner to the U.S., was hit with a 34% so-called reciprocal tariff by the Trump administration on Wednesday, in addition to a 20% tariff imposed earlier this year. Further counterstrikes could include tightening export controls and more critical raw materials for vital U.S. high-tech manufacturing, new energy transformation and defense projects, and further escalating blocking of key technologies used in extracting and processing strategic minerals, said two sources close to the matter, who asked for anonymity. This is the part where your mind is blown that China controls these rare earth minerals. Like globally, they control these rare earth minerals. You can't get them anywhere else. China accounts for at least 85% of rare earth refining, 77% of cobalt refining, 82% of tungsten production, 80% of antimony processing capacity, and 90% of the world's synthetic graphite production. They use graphite in all kinds of stuff. That's what's in our number 2 pencil, right? Graphite. These are all critical materials for defense, new energy batteries, semiconductors, and advanced manufacturing. So China has the biggest place for green energy, for solar panels, and that might be why they have all this control over all that refining of tungsten, of graphite. Graphite's huge. Like, that's huge. Beyond non-tariff measures, China could still adopt additional tariffs on certain U.S. products, particularly agricultural goods. So that's going to hurt farmers. Having already imposed tariffs on key U.S. farm products, China is weighing further increases, another source added. Chen Wenling, former chief economist at China Center for International Economic Exchanges, said China could follow these cases of countries like Canada and levy tariffs on U.S. products in a higher range of 250% to 390%. That's got to be like 25%, unless they really mean 250, 390. Whoa. The latest tariffs from the Trump administration is provoking a strong global reaction. International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva warned that the sweeping tariffs present a significant risk to the global outlook at a time of sluggish growth. All right, I'm going to cut it off there. In America, we can't pay the national debt, and all of that is meant to, I think, bring money into the country, because there is no marketplace like the American marketplace paying in dollars. They can sell their goods at the highest price with the least amount of regulation, because America is such a huge country. They can just do the compliance. Is so much easier than the compliance in Europe, where they have all kinds of different compliances. America is a huge landmass with an expensive dollar, and it's just easier to engage in business here than it is in Europe. It's much easier. They don't have to do compliance between Italy, France, and Germany. They have something called the Eurozone, but it's not as good as America. There's a reason that we're the biggest marketplace in the world. And part of that reason, beyond the dollar, is the compliance requirements are much easier to deal with than any other place of country of that nature. So this, to me, I read this isn't over tomorrow. This is going to take months, and the economy is going to crash in the meantime. And right now, it's all about capital preservation or making money on the downside, in my opinion. That's what you should be doing. You should not be looking to make money unless it's to the downside. What are your thoughts on this? Subscribe and like the video. Thank you so much.